Hi everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm Ski Mask Bro, and as you guys can tell right off the bat, you guys see my Excel pulled up on one hand and my face on the upper right hand side, so you guys can tell that this is going to be a little bit more of a more serious video and less goofy compared to some of our other ones. But as promised in our prior video regarding how to break into investment banking, we're going to be covering the networking tracker today and ultimately how to use an Excel-based networking log to track the people that you've spoken to at various banks, as well as the various recruiting timelines for each one, so that you guys can ultimately stay organized and on top of things so that you guys can maximize your potential to breaking into investment banking, as well as hopefully into some of the firms that you really want to work for. And before we start, just want to let you guys know that we've included a download link for this Excel in the description below. So feel free to download that, follow along, and also feel free to make any modifications that you guys think could be useful or some things that you guys think we've missed. And honestly, like, the only thing that we ask of you is that if you guys make any modifications to your specific file, please comment it below so we know what we missed and so that we can ultimately utilize that to be a little bit more cognizant and to improve our content going forward. And, you know, with that said, let's just hop straight into the networking log. So the networking log is broken up into two pieces, right? The first one is your master networking tracker, which tracks all of the banks that you want to target. And you have your qualitative elements as well as your networking funnel, which tracks the conversations that you've had, the referrals that you've gotten, the emails that you've sent, as well as the general comments section where you guys can sort of just lay out the comments here that you've learned from each bank or something like that. Like, let's say a bank is sort of like, oh, not recruiting anymore, or they're reducing your class size, like any sort of relevant information that you guys think can be useful, just comment it here. And the second piece is the individual bank logs, right? Here we just have JP Morgan for now, but then here in the bank log, basically this tracks your conversations and emails sent on an individual level to each of the people that you've sent emails to for each bank. Right here, like, you guys sent something to Jamie Dimon, right, at JP Morgan or something like that. You guys could track sort of like when you sent your email, whether like the date of the call, if you guys have something scheduled, whether the conversation after you guys talk is good or bad, if you guys have requested a referral, and if a referral's been made. And ultimately, everything from columns I through N is going to flow back into the master tracker into columns K through O. Alright, so here, like, we have like a count formula that sort of counts like how many emails you've sent based on the tracker that you have, as well as sort of like the number of conversations that you guys have had, and which conversations, like, out of those are like good conversations, and like how many referrals have you requested, how many referrals have been made in that bank, so that you guys can ultimately just, you know, like, identify which banks you guys have strong connections with, which banks you guys have weaker connections with, so it can ultimately help you guys prioritize where you want to focus your time networking, right? Because at the end of the day, like, you guys only have sort of 24 hours in a day, and you know, like, you guys have school or balancing interview preps, and as it gets later on in the process, right, like, you guys have talked to a lot of people. This sort of helps give you like the bigger picture to see, I mean, like, which banks you guys have spent a lot of time on and which banks you're interested in but you guys have spent little time on, so you guys can prioritize some time to sort of balance out your connections in order to maximize your opportunities and chances of breaking in. So with that said, let's hop straight into the first part of the tracker, right? So here is our master networking tracker. Column C, you're going to fill in the banks that you want to target. So here we listed off the ones off the top of our heads, like 28 banks, ranging from a good combination of bulge brackets, elite boutiques, balance sheet banks, middle markets, and specialized boutiques, which is going to be in column D, the bank types. And before we go any further, we just want to say that here we listed 29 banks. But then when you guys are focusing your networking efforts, do not target 25 banks. You're going to spread yourself too thin. Pick 10 to 15 banks that you guys think that you guys want to work for, that has a good balance between bulge brackets, elite boutiques, balance sheet banks, and middle markets. And then target your networking efforts on those 10 to 15 banks, right? Like, we're not saying, like, don't submit your application to more than 30 banks, right? Obviously, send your application for every one of those banks, right, where you want to work for. But right off the bat, like, when you're targeting your recruiting or when you're targeting specific timelines, just focus in on just a subset of banks, right? 10 to 15, something that is manageable, that you guys can balance with school and also take phone calls throughout the day, and sort of like enough for you guys to like stack back-to-back phone calls for you guys to get like a good amount of coffee chats and phone calls going, a good amount of emails sent, but not too much where it's gonna like overwhelm you and you're sort of gonna like lose track, and you guys have like, let's say, like 50 banks, each of those guys, you guys have only talked to like one person, and then, like, you know, like the reason to push you and the amount of people that are going to bat for you to get an interview is not that much, right? So ultimately just sort of focus in on like 10 to 15 banks and target those. And as time goes on throughout the recruiting process, when let's say like you didn't get an interview here or you didn't get an offer here, then you guys can start to add in 1 more bank, 2 more bank, 3 more banks, right? For you guys to roll forward your networking efforts, right? As the recruiting timeline progresses. So that said, here you guys have like column E, you guys have your tier, right? Which ultimately you guys rank yourself, right? So you guys, for example, like similar to the college application process, right, you guys have your banks that you really want to work for, your dream banks, right? That might be a little bit of a reach for you. For example, let's say you're at a non-target and you want to target like a boutique, like an elite boutique, right? Like might be a little bit of a dream, but you know, like target it anyways, right? Focus your networking efforts on that. And then you have your tier 2 banks, which are your target banks, right? Which are the ones that, you know, you guys think are based on your technical abilities, based on your behavioral abilities and the school you go to. And if they do OCR, you guys think you guys have a reasonable chance of getting in. And then the third tier is, okay, fine, right? Like if I don't get my tier 1 or tier 2 banks, if I get my tier 3 banks, I will be perfectly fine with working at, right? So when you guys are targeting your 10 to 15 banks, right? Like obviously, right, have a mix, have the mix being heavily skewed towards 1 and 2 and some tier 3 banks, right? That you guys think are safety banks that you think you guys have a good shot at, in order to sort of just diversify and just maximize your chances of getting in. And, you know, like with that said, like none of these banks, you know, like truly are tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, right? Like all of these banks at the end of the day, like when you're going in as an analyst, you're going to be doing the exact same thing. And let's say that like you don't land your dream bank, right? Or you don't land your target bank and you're at, let's say like a no-need boutique or like a balance sheet bank where it's like, you know, like they do primarily financings and you're not going to get a lot of M&A exposure. At the end of the day, right, it's fine, right? Like in this market environment, when you guys start your job as an analyst, you know, like your job is just to focus on landing that investment banking role, because then like that opens up your door for after your first year, after your second year, if you want to lateral to a bigger platform or a more specialized platform, you guys can do so. But, you know, like it's just focusing on just landing that role first, which is the hardest piece. And, you know, like obviously like each of these banks like might be different from one another, right? But like landing a role in any of these banks, you know, is an accomplishment in itself, right? Because I remember like when I was in undergrad, you know, like the bank that I landed, you know, like it was okay, right? It was okay, fine. But, you know, it wasn't as good as some of the ones that I was targeting. But, you know, at the end of the day, like throughout my career, like my very short career so far, I've realized that, you know, like people value your experience, right? Like lateraling, I feel like it's a lot more easier than sort of like recruiting, right? Because, you know, there's a lot less people with deal reps, like qualified experience. You also have less time, right? So when you put more time into interview preparation, you can beat out some people, which we're going to cover. But that's just some food for thought, right? Even if you think a bank is tier 3, right, on your list, in reality, they're not tier 3. If you get an offer from these banks, that is a big accomplishment and you should be proud of yourself. So with that said, column F is just like the application open date. Column G is just whether or not you submitted your application. Please submit your applications to a lot of these banks, right? Like if you guys identified 10 to 15, feel free to put more banks here. Just don't network with them, but like submit your application to every single portal that opens up, like every single one. So you guys, like sometimes you guys can get interviews without even networking, like which happens a lot. So that's fine. And then your expected interview start dates, right? Sometimes a bank will tell you when they're expecting to start your interviews. Sometimes you get that information through like your coffee chats or your phone calls when you're like, someone's like, yeah, like I think we're kicking off our process for like core schools or not core schools like at this time. And sometimes your university will tell you. So just put that here, right? Like so you don't need to put a specific date. You just put like June 1st if you're telling you it's in June. And then here is sort of like the OCR, OCI, really on-campus interviews. If those companies are doing on-campus interviews for you, if not, or something like that. And then this could sort of just like help you guys know like where your school has strong ties to, right? So like if you're coming to campus, maybe you can, you know, like focus a little bit less networking. Obviously you have to talk to them to get an interview, but focus less. Like you're not gonna have to spam them with emails. But like let's say, for example, like UBS does on-campus recruiting for you guys, right? You guys can send out like 5 emails, probably they're targeting your school, so you guys have alumni representation. You guys say, okay, yeah, like I'll talk to some of my alumni, try and maximize the chance there. But you really want to bring it to Moelis, right? Moelis does not do on-campus recruiting for you guys. you guys can sort of take your time to focus, like let's say like 20 emails sent to Molas, 30 emails sent to Molas, 50 emails sent to Molas, so that you guys can ultimately try and talk to as many people as you can to get like an interview from them that's off campus. So this just helps you prioritize, you know, like where you need to put in more work and where you need to put in less work because of university relations or alumni representation. And here is your target locations, right? Like obviously like these banks have a lot of different offices, right? Like both East Coast, West Coast, some in the Midwest, some in the DMV. So it's just to like, you know, just level set like where you want to work for each of these guys. And then for the networking funnel, right? This networking funnel, like I said before, it links to the individual networking logs, right? So for example, let's say like for JPM, we have that tab created right here. Like here, like you guys put like the latest email sent, you guys put your dates. The count A formula sort of just like counts the amount of dates that you put in, right? Like if the cell basically has a value, count it. If it doesn't, obviously you didn't send an email, right? So when it counts it, it just says, okay, like there's 3 dates here. That means there's 3 emails sent. And that logic flows into like all of these things, right? So it's like, for example, the number of conversations, it flows into column L, right? So here you guys put like, okay, if you guys had a conversation, was it good or bad, right? If it was good, you put yes. If it was bad, you put no. Or like, you know, it was like lukewarm, whatever, right? You just put it in here. And then this also just tracks like how many conversations that you guys have had despite being good or bad. And then here, right, this tracks the same column, but, you know, it tracks the number of sort of good conversations that you guys could think you guys have had. And then same thing with like the referrals requested, there's a column here, and then also the referrals that were actually made, right, based on those guys telling you, for example, when you guys send an email like, hey, like had a great time, would love to speak to other people on your team, or hey, like, you know, notice that you guys have kicked off interviews, was wondering if you can push my resume to like the rest of the group for a review. And then if they say yes, we'll do, right, you guys just put that. Sometimes they don't do it, sometimes like I say stuff like, yeah, I'll push your resume, but like then I forget because I'm lazy and I'm busy. So, you know, like you never know if a resume has been pushed, but, you know, it's good to track anyways. And here you guys have, like, if an interview is coming up or not, like, whether it's confirmed through email or verbally, or you guys talk to someone on the phone, and they're like, hey, man, like, just so you know, our team had a great time speaking to you. Expect an email or expect an interview invite for sometime this time. Just type in yes. And then here, obviously, are, like, the comment section where you guys can fill in, like, specific comments or observations that you guys have made. And then here is the individual sort of like banking logs. So for JP Morgan, you guys will put in the first name of the person, the last name of the person, and here's the email format that you guys have pre-populated. It's going to be the same for every row. And then here in the actual email section, there's something called concatenate, which combines the first name, last name, email format, and automatically spits out sort of like the email you need to send. And then we can go over like in a few minutes or a few seconds like how to send a proper email. But in here you guys have like the positions, whether they're an analyst, associate, VP, director, your office locations, and then here you have like your call scheduling, right? Like your latest email that's been sent, whether they've responded to the email or not, and then also like the date in which you've scheduled or in which you've had the call. And here you have your conversation vibes, right? Whether or not it's a good call, whether or not, you know, you've requested a referral, and whether or not a referral's been made, or they've responded to your email or not. But I just wanted to say that here, right, for the good conversation, whether or not the conversation went good or bad, right, please ask them for a referral to either another person on their team, or like to like, I guess like push your resume through if you're really sort of like in a time crunch, right? Because at the end of the day, like you have nothing to lose, right? Like, for example, if you have a good conversation, obviously ask them, but some people don't ask when they have bad conversations, or like the conversation hasn't been like super well, right? Obviously, you have nothing to lose, right? Like the conversation already went bad. 99% chance they're not going to push you. But just in case, like, you know, you're misinterpreting the situation, I think it could be useful to just request a referral to another team member anyways, right? I think just to maximize your odds. At the end of the day, it's just sales, right? And like you're an undergrad, like no one's gonna remember their conversation with you if it's bad, right? If it's good, they're gonna like keep you in the back of their heads, but if it's bad, it's whatever, right? Like it can't be that abysmal to the fact that they're gonna blackball you, so just it never hurts to ask. And also wanted to touch upon column I, right? Email sent. So the rule here is to follow up whenever they don't respond, right, and you think they're a good person to talk to, follow up within the next 2 to 3 weeks, right? So it's like, let's say you sent an email at 4:22, they haven't responded. 2 weeks later, just follow up with them, right? Hey, just following up this email. Know you're incredibly busy, right? Like if you're free to talk, right? Like I can accommodate your schedule, obviously in cleaner language, but just make sure to do that. Because like honestly, like from my perspective, right, like whether or not an email is long or email is short, right, I really don't respond to networking emails that much. But then I only respond to the ones where they've been following me up like 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Then I see like, you know, in my Outlook, it says like, you know, like he's replying to a thread for like the 6th time, and I'm like, damn, right, like okay, I should probably talk to him. Like I feel bad, right? So it's like, you know, like a lot of the times like your followers would increase your chances of sort of talking to someone because it pumps it up into the inbox. And the more emails on there, like the more urgent the email seems to be, right? So like then they'll look at it and be like, fine, I'll talk to this kid, right? He seems to have some grind in him. At least that's what I've experienced from my perspective between me and my friends and stuff like that. And now with that said, right, like these things are obviously interlinked. We're gonna go through a quick exercise on how to build each of the tabs, right? So here we have JPM, we're gonna leave that alone. So now you guys want to build a tab for, let's say Mizuho. Okay, let's say you guys want to build something for Mizuho. So you're gonna right click on tab, you're gonna click move or copy, create new copy, check that, click OK. It's gonna pop up, you're gonna see the exact same tab as what you just copied, but then there's gonna be 2 next to it. Drag it here, go in, click Mizuho. Right, and then when you have this, what you're gonna do is you're gonna come here, delete everything, every value, but do not delete column F, right? Because that's the concatenate formula. And then for Mizuho, I think you're gonna put a little dash at mizuho.com, because I think that's what their email format is. If it's wrong, like I don't think it's wrong, but like I think sometimes it might be wrong. Like they might have specific emails, but yeah. So you're gonna put that here, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull up our Google. Right, you're gonna go on LinkedIn.com, and then here you have like Ski Mask Broski on LinkedIn, right? And then you're gonna target your analysts and associates first, right? Like most importantly, like you guys should target like analyst first, investment banking analyst at Mizuho. And you know, like you guys click people, you guys see like just mad investment banking analysts at Mizuho, right? Like they're all LinkedIn members. The fuck? Weird. Okay, that's because I just like made this LinkedIn account. Like I have like 0 connections right now, and some of these guys like only let you see them if like there's like 3 connections. But I see one right here. This guy. I'm not gonna try and pronounce his name because I'm definitely gonna butcher it. But you're basically gonna take his name, copy his first name. It's on my other window. Paste it here. Copy his last name. Paste it here. And in this email, this concatenate is going to automatically generate you an email, right? So when you copy this, right, and you sort of like paste this value, you get this guy's name, and then you just sort of copy it, go into your Gmail, and just put it on like the to line or the subject line, and then boom, like you can send your emails. So once you do that, like we could fill out, he's an analyst, location, it seems like he's in New York. Latest email sent, right? If you send an email today, you'll be like, okay, 4/26/2023, and the response, just leave it blank, right? And then like after a week, right, if you respond, just put yes, right? Like you don't need to put no for response, so just leave it blank, or you just put like no for now, like everything's just no for now. And then like, you know, if you respond, you just change it for yes. And then like, let's say he doesn't respond, and like 2 days later, like you're gonna be like, okay, like let's follow up in 2 weeks, right? Which is like 15 days, 14 days, which is 5/11, and you guys just sort of like replace this with your follow-up date. And then if you guys schedule a call, you guys just put the date of the call and blah blah blah, just fill in the rest. And now, with that said, I want to just come back on here, right? Because I've seen like coming in conjunction with the networking log is also going to be your networking email, right? Like I don't think I'm going to cover that too much. It's been covered well on Wall Street Oasis. And I sort of just seen like you guys could just go into WSO and sort of just like pull email templates from there. There's a lot of emails where people are like, oh, please like critique my email, right? Like here is a good email template I found, right? Hi, John Doe. My name is X, rising senior at like whatever. I'm going to link this in the description below for you guys. But personally, right? I'm reading some of these things, and like these guys think it's too long. Honestly, I don't really care. I think this is fine. Or like working at Xbank as an evaluation intern. I understand that like you're very busy, right? Like overall, this is just like a very polite email. It's like a college alumni or something like that, or someone you don't know. Just basically for every email, just be like, hey, like my name's X, I'm currently this. You know, I saw your LinkedIn on, like I saw your profile on LinkedIn or something like that. You guys don't even need to say that. Just be like, you know, I'm very interested in working for X Bank, you know, or very interested in breaking into investment banking, and this bank might be of interest, right? Or is of interest to me, given it's like, you know, like strong sort of like presence in consumer or whatever. And you can just be like, you know, I understand that you're very busy, but like if you have the moment, right, would you mind hopping on like a 15-minute call, 20-minute call, 30-minute call with me, right? Like I could try to accommodate your schedule to the best of my abilities, right? So this email just has every one of those components. Some people might think it's too long. Some people might think like, you know, there's too much stuff in here. Personally, I don't care, right? I'm a little bit more of a long-winded person. Like from my experience, right, I open up a networking email, I instantly know it's a networking email, right? I'm not going to read the content. I'm just going to open up the resume and the attached, look at it, and if it's bad, I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to reply. Or if it's like good or something, like I might be too lazy, I might also not reply, right? But at the end of the day, like if it's too long and too short, I'm not reading it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Like unless there's like a glaring typo, then I'll be like, no. But yeah, like just come to Austrian Oasis, like just type of networking email. I've linked this one. I feel like it's pretty good, so you guys can just utilize that. But yeah, with that said, like we've sort of linked this in the description below. Oh, sorry, I realized I missed it. So once you guys fill it in here, right, you guys gotta come to your networking tracker in your networking funnel for Mizuho. What you're gonna do is you're gonna F2 into the cell, Control C copy, come down to Mizuho, and just paste it here, right? And then now you're gonna do like a Control F, and then replace. You're gonna replace JPM. JPM with Mizuho, right? Because like basically what the replace formula does, right, is that like what the replace function does is that it'll capture any single like sort of word that you put in here. So this is still linked to the JPM tab. You're just gonna replace it with Mizuho. So basically when you click replace, this is gonna become Mizuho. So click replace. And after you replace it, now it's linked to your Mizuho tab. So when you trace it, it comes into your Mizuho tab. And then you're basically gonna do it for like the rest of these things, right? You're gonna copy, come down here, copy, come down here, right? And then you're just gonna do sort of control both, right? Replace. And you're just gonna like sort of replicate that function for every of the 10 to 15 banks that you guys decide that you're gonna be targeting. Oh. Yeah, but with that said, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope this is useful. If there's something else we're missing, like please drop it in the comments below. Like we're just trying to sort of improve our content, create content that can maximize utility for you guys and to help you guys through your recruiting process, interview process, whatever that is. But yeah, like if you guys haven't watched the How to Break Into Investment Banking video before, please also watch that. Link is around this video somewhere as well as in the description below. And also, please, if you guys like this video, drop a like and a subscribe to help the YouTube algorithm. But yeah, thank you guys. Peace out.